What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Creating with Impact podcast. So, this week's interview episode is going to be with Dylan Disaster, whose last release, Remission, is actually kind of just all about his dealings with depression and like mental health type stuff. So, I thought that was pretty appropriate for this podcast. He is from LA, currently playing in Austin, Texas. So for any of you guys who are in Austin, definitely keep an eye out. I will go ahead and link his socials and all that good stuff in the episode show notes. So be sure to check that out after the show as well. Without further ado, let's get into this week's episode. Are you searching for a natural way to find peace, focus, and balance in your busy life? Look no further than Monk Personal Essential Oil Diffusers. Whether you need to unwind after a long day, boost your energy, or simply find a moment of calm amidst the chaos, Monk has the perfect blend for you. Say goodbye to stress and embrace a more mindful approach to life. And as an added bonus, you can use code CreatingWithImpact for 10% off. Your journey to a happier and healthier you starts now. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for doing this with me. It's super great to like kind of have like the local kind of music community to pull people from. So super excited.
Happy to be here. I love talking about this kind of stuff.
Awesome. Yes, I love to hear it. So I wanted to start kind of by talking a little bit about your background, kind of like what got you into like music and songwriting, and like who are some of your inspirations and stuff like that.
Sure. Okay. Um, I started playing guitar when I was I don't know, 12 years old or something. Um, and usually when people ask me this question, my default answer is like music's kind of been present in my life before I was even like around, before I was born. Um, and it's because my father is a deadhead through and through. Uh, and all of his buddies play acoustic guitar, and they all there's actually photos of me at like the age of 3 playing acoustic guitar with my dad and his buddies.
Oh,
Um,
that's awesome.
my mother is a fan of rock and roll and disco and pop. She loves any kind of music. My mom just loves it. And her brother played acoustic guitar too. So it was kind of always just present in my life before I was really even aware of it. And then when I was like 11 or 12, I was kind of I was into backyard wrestling more than like anything else. Well, maybe it was a little earlier, I guess. I might have been like 10 or so. And my grandfather bought me acoustic guitar, but like I had broken it over a friend's head because we were wrestling.
Amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. And then eventually I got another guitar. I don't think I ever told him that. Um, Eventually I got another guitar, and I don't know, I fell in love with it. I honestly don't know where all the influence came from, because I was just like hanging out with my buddies. We all started listening to Nirvana and punk rock and Korn and stuff like that. And I was really just getting it from my friends because I didn't have any older role models to kind of pass it down to me. And it was just like it was the first time in my life that something felt um I don't know, right, I guess. As a teenager, you're starting to become more aware of yourself and conscious of things. And like it was just everything to me. I would go home and play guitar every single day until I had to eat dinner or go to sleep. And I would cut classes in school to go to guitar class. Uh, and I was just always thinking about music. I mean, it's still fairly similar today. Um, I'm just I wake up and it's the first thing I'm thinking about is what I'm doing with my music, and I think about songs and how I can progress my band all day, and it's usually the last thing I think about at night. And usually everything that I'm doing is to move music forward for me. So
That's
it's I've been playing for 20 something years, so it's a long history. That's the short version of it, I guess.
That's awesome. I feel like that is kind of true. Like that's kind of how like I've been kind of getting different like music recommendations and everything. It's always from like friends, and
Oh
like
yeah.
it's so cool because I feel like you kind of get this like bonding moment over it, and and it ends up just lasting like forever, because then you're like, oh, I remember so and so got me into this band, or like I remember going to see this show with this person or whoever. So it's like it's really cool.
That's very
Um,
true. It's really bonding. It was bonding back then as a teenager. Like it brought us all together, and I made friends there. And then in my adulthood too, I've had a couple friends who were just like they're just constantly giving me new music all the time, and like they're some of my best friends. They're
mhm.
just always turning me on to stuff, and it's always fun to like turn other people on to stuff too. So
Definitely. It's always so satisfying, like especially if you get somebody into a band or like a song even that you're
yeah,
like you love and then they
yeah,
start loving it. It's like, yes, I did
yeah. I love that. It's great.
it. So I kind of wanted to ask, what's the story behind like your stage name?
Oh, Dylan Disaster. It's pretty simple. I was in a band called Sounds Like Disaster when I was living in LA, and we all kind of just adopted the name. It
Mhm.
sounded the best on me, and I started doing solo stuff around that time, and it just stuck, and now I can't get away from it.
Nice.
But I don't mind it. I like it. People call me Mr. Disaster or Disaster or
Nice.
Dylan Disaster. I'm like, all right, whatever. Yeah,
That's awesome.
I'm far less of a disaster these days than I used to be, but
Nice.
it's almost more ironic now, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's actually kind of even more awesome, actually.
Yeah, yeah.
So, actually, can you talk a little bit more about kind of playing music in LA and kind of what that was like?
I mean, I didn't do a whole lot of it.
Mhm.
I had just moved out of my mother's home when I was 20 years old, living in New York for the first time, and I moved to California where I didn't know anybody. So I was like just learning how to be an adult and figure things out. Uh, I kind of like admire my younger self for doing it when I look back at it now because I'm like, that's pretty ballsy. I had like zero life skills. I had no clue how to survive, and apparently I survived.
Mhm.
Um, but I mean, my main reason for going out there was to start a band and play some music, um, and that's really all I wanted to do. So I did it. I started a band with some random people from Craigslist,
Nice.
and yeah, we were okay. We were an okay band, kind of emo, but like I was writing cool guitar parts, so I felt good about that. Uh, and then, but it was just kind of chaotic. The name was rather appropriate because I was like 21 years old, 22, and everybody else in the band was about the same age. We were all just running wild in Hollywood, and it just there was no it was not sustainable. And
Mhm.
I think because I was so on my own for the first time and like learning how to be a human, um, I think partying was a little more important to me at the moment. I mean, music was more important always, but like I just didn't know how to balance it.
Mhm. That makes total sense. I feel like especially like being that age too and
Hmm.
like moving out like all the way across the country
Yeah,
and it's almost kind of weird because I feel like when you're younger you kind of have like a little bit of an advantage just because you don't really know a lot about like the world and you're just kind of like okay, I have this goal so I'm going to go do this. Like that simple.
yeah,
Which is
totally.
awesome, but it's also like got to be a kind of a struggle to balance all of that.
I definitely agree with you. I mean, there is just like that you've got nothing to lose when you're younger. So like you're willing to lose it all. You're like, I don't care. This is this thing I'm gonna do. And you just go for it. And like, yeah, that attitude's kind of great. But I mean, I think I prefer where I'm at now because I have the experience of that. And it's taught me a lot about patience and how to like calculate and move with intention and really know do what I want to do rather than just fucking winging it.
Exactly.
I mean, that's what my 20s was just winging it. Like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm doing it, I guess.
Yeah. And that's the funny thing too, is I feel like most of us honestly just have no idea what we're doing and we're all just kind of like, well, this makes sense, so I'll do this.
Yeah. Well, it's funny actually. I was doing a little research on your podcast and I was just listening to your last episode about what was it? Starting before you're ready.
Oh, yeah. Hmm.
And that's exactly what it was, except like it was unintentionally that way. But I mean, that's kind of how it is. You do it and you don't think you're ready. You don't really even have the comprehension of what it means to be ready. So
Mhm.
you're kind of just doing it.
Exactly, exactly. So with all of that kind of experience that you had like in your 20s and especially like early 20s, just jumping out there and kind of just doing it, is that kind of some of what kind of led you to focus more on like mental health and wellness and like self-development and that kind of thing? And you mentioned sobriety too, so I wanted to see if you wanted to talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think everything from my past is, like anybody, our past leads us to our present, basically. And everything I mean, it was just, my life was chaos for a long time. I was just constantly living like that, just kind of rolling the dice. And um, I think because of all that, it led me to a place where I was unhappy. Um, I found myself depressed a lot, uh, and eventually, I mean, it kept building and building, and it was, and eventually, I mean, I felt like I needed to do something about it. So, I stopped drinking when I was 26 for like a year, because I recognized that something was going on. I just didn't know what it was. But then I started drinking again, and then like it seemed to kind of build up more. And then I hit like I definitely had some like real struggle with depression and anxiety and stuff like that in my early 30s, which is kind of crazy to think about too, because in my early 30s, I was doing a lot of stuff that I wanted to do with music. I was touring Europe and I was making records and I was playing in bands and doing all this shit. But I was still like within me, there was an unhappiness for sure. And I always kind of like felt that was the case, but it wasn't until like I really stopped and I stopped drinking that everything kind of cleared up and like it has a clarity and sense and an understanding of where I came from and why I do the things that I do and just who I am really. And yeah, I mean, it all stems from, just being wild and living life. And, that's where it started, I think. I've always had like, maybe not always, but like probably around that time when I was living in Hollywood, I started getting into stuff like, I read the book Conversations with God. And that was kind of the first book that I was like, oh shit, what's this all about? That like really connected to me. And that was the first time that I think I kind of dipped my toes into that. And I think once I kind of opened that door, I could never really close it again. And it's something I say in sobriety too. It's like once you see it, you can't unsee it. And then it just kind of changes you. Like you can try to go back if you want to, but like you're gonna be pretty fucking miserable. Sorry, can I curse? I curse a lot.
Yeah, no, you're good. Yeah, you're totally good.
I mean, yeah, like, but if you recognize all the great things that sobriety can do for you, or anything really in general, and you recognize all the good that it brings you, and then you try to go back to the old ways, you're gonna struggle real hard. And yeah, I mean, once I saw those things, I just couldn't stop, and just kept me pushing me forward. So yeah, I'm always learning more, and always kind of trying to consume more of that stuff, and always just trying to be better than I was yesterday.
That's awesome. I feel like that's a really good like mindset to have too, because I feel like so many people have this, and honestly, me included, have this like idea where, okay, if I reach these goals, then I'll be happy. And then I don't have to
Mhm.
worry about it anymore. But you don't realize like once you do reach those goals and once you do like start doing all of these things that you want to do, there's still that aspect of it where you have to take care of yourself and you have to be working on yourself still. And a lot of people don't realize that. So then it's like when they meet those goals, they're like as depressed or more depressed because they're like, well, if this isn't going to make me happy, then like what is? And I think that's like a really important thing to bring up for sure.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty a common thing, I think, like when talking about happiness is that people expect that they have these material goals and they they reach it and it's not giving them that feeling, it's because there's that underlying unhappiness in them, and they gotta find out what's going on there. And that was the case with me for sure. Yeah, and I think like one of the things I heard recently was when it comes to happiness, it's not about wanting more, it's about having less. And I like that a lot.
Yeah, that makes so much sense too, because it's just like gotta be gotta be grateful for what you have and then kind of go from there.
Yeah.
So kind of talking about this uh like kind of dealing with these like times of depression and like still creating music. So I know you had mentioned that your second album, Remission, was basically like a journey like through depression for you.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of curious, like how have you noticed any kind of differences in how you approach like the songwriting process and like music and everything, like while you're going through that versus maybe if you're not going through kind of like one of those dark times, like how does that kind of change and how does that like affect the music too?
Totally. That's a great question. Um, I'm just like thinking back about when I was writing Remission was a really, really hard time for me. I was like probably the worst depression I've ever experienced in my life. Um, but it was, I mean, that record was everything to me. Everything I was doing with my life was like, I don't care what it is. I'm gonna go into debt. I'm gonna live on couches. I'm making this damn record, and it's just and everything that I was feeling. Like you could, I don't know if you had the chance to listen through it, but the record is like that progression. Like you just some days you feel like you're down and out and you're never gonna get up again, and then other days like fuck you, I'm coming back, and like you can't keep me down. And that's the whole record, just ebbs and flows, and it feels like you go through exactly what I went through. I wrote it over like maybe 3 years. And even like the songs, the way they're placed on the record, they ebb and flow the same way. Um, and it was different then because, like I said, it was everything that I had. It was the only thing that I had that I was holding on to, and it got me through. And then I was super proud of this record that I made, and I was unwilling to compromise on how it sounded and how it looked. And it was the first time that I'd done something like that for myself. And I also detached myself from the expectations of what the record was going to do for me in my music career, because it was more important to me just to make it and release it than it was to really get anywhere with it. And like, ironically, it was the most commercial success I had so far, but not that it was like a huge success, but like it did pretty well and it was very well received. And people that really like that record, they resonate with it. Like that record is really badass. Like it helped me through some hard times. And, that's, I write music because I love to write music, but when people tell me shit like that, it's kind of what it's all about. And
For
then
sure.
like, compared to today, I just got back from a 2 week trip in New Jersey recording my third record. And yeah, and it's just, I wrote this record over a course of a couple of years. So like it ebbs and flows a little bit too. But the majority of this record was written when I was sober and I was in that clear headspace. And it's just so much more intentional and it's not desperate anymore. It's just like, I want to make these songs and I want to make them as bad as I can. And it's just really, like I said, intentional and focused. And there's also a patience. There's a lack of urgency in it too, which is really nice. And just kind of enjoying making songs with my band and making a record. And it, like I said, doesn't feel as desperate anymore. So it's very different than how it used to feel.
That's really cool. And it sounds like both of them have like this level of kind of like authenticity to them that I feel like people can definitely connect to. And especially like what you were talking about with Remission, how it was written over like 3 years and kind of ebbs and flows and everything. And I do kind of like it, it like reflects kind of um that struggle and kind of like the ups and downs and everything. And it's really cool, honestly, like in general, that like music can just do that. Like when, especially when you're writing original music, it can definitely like reflect how you're feeling in the moment. And especially in those like darker times and kind of the ebbs and flows that like everyone experiences, I feel like that really like connects with people, and it's really cool.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, that's what I think that's what probably drew me to music when I was younger, because I was like, I didn't feel like I belonged much in my hometown. It's like a very sports oriented little town on Long Island. Like that's not me. And it was kind of music was the first place that like I felt like I had a voice and like I can express myself really. And I mean, that's what it's all about, right? I mean, if authenticity, just especially as a solo artist. I mean, I think when you're like putting music out as a solo artist, you just this is me. This is how my life sounds. This is how my essence sounds. Like as long as you're being authentic to yourself and like, you know, being true to the experience, then it's gonna sound like you. And it's
Mhm.
yeah, I think that's I'm grateful to be able to write music, and especially as a solo artist. I'm very fortunate in that sense.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, so kind of talking as like a solo artist, and also since you've had like experience playing in bands, like what kind of differences do you notice, kind of just in the whole process? I was going to ask about just like the songwriting process, but just the whole process of like songwriting, recording, like playing music. Um, what kind of like challenges have come up in playing music kind of solo as like a songwriter, and then also like in a band and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, it's very different. I'm in a really fortunate place though. Like because like when you're in a band, it's it's a democracy. Everyone has opinions. Everybody wants things to do go a certain way. And in my experience, that has slowed me down because decisions don't get made. People aren't, you know, picking up their own slack, and or they're not carrying their weight, and I got to pick up that slack. And I just like to move forward, and it's hard for me to be in a band with some people with people who don't really like want to move forward in that same way. You know, I've always felt like bands that find themselves successful are bands that are made up of people who are all on the same page. They all have the same goals. They're all moving towards the same thing. Like it's a partnership, and they're doing things in that direction. And I never really experienced that when it was playing in bands. I mean, here and there, I've had bandmates. You know, we're all kind of on this. We're on the same page, and we want to do things, but um, it's just hard to line up like that, especially being young and you don't know how to communicate it,
Mhm.
because it's like, oh, we're in a band, whatever, we're just doing it. If you need to sit down and set your intentions with your bandmates, then it could be a different story. But I never had that experience. Um, so for me, I decided to start doing stuff solo because in my previous bands, I was just pulling the wagon anyway. So I'm just gonna drop the weight and do it myself. Um, and as far as songwriting goes, it's definitely a challenge. I do like collaborating, but I was saying I'm fortunate because um, I've kind of created a dynamic in my band now that it's sort of understood, you know, and I'm also able to communicate with my bandmates honestly and openly about what my expectations are. Um, but it's kind of the same way where I'm just making all the moves and I'm making all the decisions and I'm doing all these things. And I just told my band, I'm like, I just need you to show up with a good attitude, play some music, and have a good time. I'll take care of everything else. And and it works, you know, it's created a really great dynamic between myself and my bandmates. And there's also I'm not like closed off either. I often ask for their opinions. I appreciate their input all the time, and they're willing to give it. And if it's the right thing, I accept it. And if not, I'm like, we're not going to do that. It's not a big deal. Um, so like, yeah, I'm very fortunate to have such cool bandmates, and it kind of worked out in a way that like really all I did was just ask some of my best friends to be in my band. Instead of just looking for the best player out there, I'm like, hey, you're my best friend. Come play bass for me. And yeah, it's been great. We have a really awesome dynamic, and it's working out good.
Nice. That's awesome. I've also kind of noticed that it's like you can have the most skilled people in your band, but if you guys aren't like getting along or you're not on the same page, it's not going to go anywhere. And you guys, and it's like also you're not going to sound your best if you're not having fun with like
Oh
the people
yeah.
that you're playing with, because you're just going to be like tense and like we all know like tension is good in music sometimes, but most of the time it's like just going to hinder you. And
Yeah.
um, so yeah, it's I feel like people can sometimes underestimate that relationship, but it's like everything.
I mean, of course, you could have like the most talented people, but if they just suck as human beings, it's gonna suck. I will also say, like, yes, these are my best friends, but they're also very talented too. Just to put out that out there. It's not like they're just good friends, they're also talented.
That's awesome.
Yes.
um so kind of going back to the whole like finding balance thing, I guess how how have you kind of learned to find balance between kind of taking care of like yourself and like your relationships, but also like dealing with the demands of like building your career in music and just like making sure that you're like getting music out and like planning stuff and doing all of the things that
Oh yeah.
come with that.
It's probably the hardest thing, time management, right? Just uh I think it's also something that you kind of get a better grip on as you age. Because when I was younger, it was just like just it didn't matter. Nothing else mattered. I'm just gonna do the band stuff. My health can go to hell. I don't care about relationships. I don't care about my job. And just like it just didn't matter. Nothing else mattered except for playing music. And I was in like 5 bands, and like that's all I cared about. And like again, I burnt out. It took its toll on me, and like it hit me really hard eventually. Um, and now it's just again, just intention is really important, and focusing on fewer things, but focusing on them more intently. Um, and like I quit all the bands I was playing in. I was in like 5 bands, and I whittled it down to just this one that I'm doing. And and that's really it. I mean, it's just figuring out time management as you go and prioritizing things. And also, but there is also like that aspect, because like I was saying, when I was younger, it was just fuck it all. I just want to play music. And like uh it's not really like that anymore either. Um it was detrimental to my health living that way. And I think I've just like learned how to balance, eating healthy and exercising and meditating and doing all the things. And it's just been so much better for me than just like destroying everything just so I can make a record or go on a tour. And I can honestly now I go on tours and I can make records, and they're better tours and they're better records than they were before, just because I'm focused and clear headed and intentional. Um, yeah,
Nice.
it's not
Uh,
easy though.
yeah, I know. I feel like all of these things, like they sound way easier than it actually is to implement. But I also feel like once you do start trying to implement at least like one thing, then like everything else just starts getting a little tiny bit easier.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. You mean as far as like mental health goes, like I absolutely. I started eating healthier slowly, and then I started eating healthier more, and I started exercising a little bit. I started exercising a little bit more, just kind of like drop it in there here and there until it becomes a routine and you don't even really think about it.
Mhm.
I will
Exactly.
also say this too. I think one of the huge thing that's helped me with time management has been my sobriety, because I've got this mental bandwidth that I didn't have before. I have the mental capacity to organize and focus in different compartments, whereas I did not have that before. It's just really, it's like superpower.
Definitely, it really
Yeah.
is. Um, so I'm kind of curious, as far as the um like local music communities, and I know you've lived like a few different places, but how have those kind of music communities um like affected uh how you handle like tougher times, and then um also just like in your opinion and like viewpoint, um like what do you think the benefits are of just having that community around you like while you're doing all of this?
Like a music community.
Mhm.
I mean, I think it's huge to have stuff like that. You know, you can only go so far on your own, I feel like. And the music community here in Austin is uh brought about some of the best friends I've ever made in my life, and they're the people that are playing music with me. Um, and yeah, we're my bandmates and I were like we're a brotherhood. We got each other's backs when we fall down, we pick each other up. And I don't think I'd have that without that music community, without music in general, because that's where we all met. We all played shows in different bands, and we all came together in this one spot and this one dirty dive bar and got loud and sweaty and drunk and acting dumb, and we became buds and bonded over music. And you know, we stayed buds through it all, and we helped each other out, and we saw each other through the hard times. So I think community is huge. I think it's necessary.
What's like the most challenging project that you've worked on, music wise?
Hmm. That's a good question. Um, I don't know. A few things come to mind, I guess. I mean, this most recent record that we just recorded, uh, it was a challenge. I mean, it's still a challenge. We're not done with it. We got a lot to do, but it was a challenge uh, because it's bigger than anything I've ever done. Uh, and it's just like there's so many moving parts. But at the same time, it's like it doesn't really feel challenging because I'm really focused on it and we're all kind of working together. So that's maybe one. Remission was a challenge too, because I mean, it was my mental health was just wavering. So it was difficult for me to like move through it and make things happen. And like so much self-doubt and like uncertainty throughout that whole process. That was really difficult too. I mean, that was probably the most challenging and maybe the most rewarding because of uh, the way it was received by people.
Mhm.
But I've also been in stuff like I played in a band called Nowhere Bound, and they're great friends of mine too. I mean, I learned so much from playing in that band. I was the youngest and most definitely the least talented in that band, and they just took me under their wing and they took me to Europe and took me on tours and showed me so much about songwriting and guitar playing. Super grateful for that band. But the last record that we did with them was challenging for me because there was also like a lot of moving parts. We did like 20 songs, and I was also doing Remission at the same time. So and I was like I was kind of removed from it because they were the lead songwriters. So I was like in and out of it, which was challenging because in the past I just want to be all in, you know. Um, so I think that period doing Remission and Morning Glory with Nowhere Bound was probably the most challenging musical projects I've done so far.
Yeah, that definitely sounds like a lot of time management practice.
I wasn't good at it. I was not good at it. I've gotten
But
better.
I also think that's kind of cool though, because it's like when you're not like used to doing something, or when you're like really challenged by something, that's definitely when you like grow the most. Like it would be awesome if we could just grow when we're like not challenged at
When
all.
shit's cool.
Like
Yeah,
sweet,
right.
awesome. But yeah, that's not how it works,
That is not the
unfortunately.
case. Yeah. But I mean, yeah, I've always said that. That's where growth comes from. You have to put yourself in that discomfort, and that's where you grow, for sure.
Do you have like a favorite song that you've written out of
Oh
all of them?
man.
Is there one that like kind of uh you feel I mean, I'm sure you feel like connected to all of your songs, but is there one that kind of just pops up in your mind?
I mean, yeah, they've all kind of been my favorite song at one point. Whenever you write a song, it's your new favorite song. Um, but there's a handful of songs in this new record that I'm really excited about. Um, I wrote a song called Nothingness, which it might be the first single off the record. Uh, I'm really stoked on that one. I think it was, well, it's sort of the last like real full song that I wrote for the record. Um, but it's one of those songs that kind of just happened, which is awesome because sometimes I'll spend 3 years on one song and sometimes I'll spend 2 weeks on a song. And this was one that kind of just grew organically. I had like this little vocal melody, and my guitar player, Will, showed up to practice. I was like, I kind of have this idea. And we ran through it. I wrote down some like scratch lyrics just so I could sing along. He wrote a cool little guitar riff, and then like I elaborated on the lyrics, and then he elaborated on his guitar riff, and the song just kept growing. And and the song sounds like it keeps growing because at the end there's this huge big sing-along part, and it's awesome. And it was kind of like the last thing we wrote for the song. It was just like this cool, he wrote this like guitar riff that I heard this melody on top of, and I just took it and ran. It's just like this huge choir part. It's a really cool song though. I'm really excited about that. It's also really simple. It's probably one of the simpler songs, but also one of the more lyrically dense songs I've ever written.
I mean, I feel like simple can be really, really good too, because
Oh
I feel like
yeah.
there's so many like amazing songs that when you actually like look at them, they're so straightforward, but it's like so catchy and like everyone just can like love it pretty much.
Yeah, I've fallen in love with that idea.
Yeah.
I used to write fairly complicated stuff when I was more of a guitar player because I just wanted to write cool guitar riffs. Um, but then when I started getting to like songwriting and being a solo artist, I fell in love with the idea of simplicity. And it was from this song, I'm on Fire, Bruce Springsteen. It's like the simplest, nothing to it song ever, but it's such a cool song. I'm like, oh, there's almost nothing going on in this song, and it's so rad. And I'm always kind of like trying to make songs like that. But then I like that song Nothingness was simple like that. It was supposed to be like a four chord song and like one verse and chorus or something, and it just expanded to this like 4 minute long song. Like, damn it. It
That's
happens all the time. I'm like, I wanted this nice simple song, and then all this cool shit comes out of it. I'm like, well, I guess it's bigger than that, which is fine. You gotta let it happen, right?
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so
Okay.
awesome too. Like especially when you're kind of like bouncing ideas off of like another person too. It's like you just kind of like build on each other, which is
Yeah.
so cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. Like I said, with my band, I'm a solo artist, so like I write all the songs, but I can throw these ideas to my dudes, and they'll come up with cool ideas for backup vocals and guitar parts and like all kinds of stuff. So I think I have a unique experience and dynamic as far as a solo artist goes.
Yeah,
I
that's
think I
super.
got a unique sound too for it. I think
Yeah,
that shows.
that's super awesome. So with that, with this like newest album, do you guys have like a release date for it yet, or is that still kind of in the works?
It's still in the works. We got to do a little more tracking over the next 2 weeks, and just getting a record on vinyl takes a long time. But the plan is springtime 2024 is when I like to release it.
Nice. Coming up. It'll be
Yeah,
here before you know it.
yeah, I can't wait.
That'll be so sick. Um, so I'm kind of finishing up here, but so besides like the new album, do you have any like shows coming up or like for socials, like where can listeners find you, all that good stuff? Where can they
Uh,
find your music?
yeah, I don't have any shows coming up. We've been taking some time off so we can kind of concentrate on making the record. Um, we do have we're going to be doing a lot of touring next year though, so keep an eye out for that. Social media at Dylan Disaster or Dylan Disaster and the Revelry is the full band. And all my music is pretty easy to find. iTunes, Spotify, Amazon Music, whatever, YouTube Music. Just search Dylan Disaster and I'm there.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
sweet. Thank you so much for doing this. I
Yeah,
really, really enjoyed this conversation. I'm
likewise.
definitely
Thank you
gonna
for having
be,
me.
yeah, of course. I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye out for you guys in the future.
Cool. Right
Awesome.
on. I gotta, if you're looking for more recommendations for people for your podcast, I got some people I can send your way.
Oh, for sure. I'm very, very down. I'm like kind of right now I'm kind of in the process of just basically stacking interviews
Yeah,
and
yeah.
them all ready to just release and like try to figure out like when to release them related to kind of like what they have coming up and um
Cool.
going from there. But it should be good. I'm gonna start coming out with the interview episodes, I think November 1st, whichever is the first like Wednesday.
Cool.
Uh, so I'll definitely be in touch and send you all the like recording and all that fun stuff
Cool.
like closer to that. But
I appreciate it.
yeah, I appreciate you. Thank you again for coming on here.
Yeah, no problem. It's a pleasure.
Sweet.
I love
Yeah.
having these kinds of conversations.
Yeah, definitely. Sweet. Well, we'll stay in touch for sure. But yeah. All right, cool. Have a
All
good
right.
night.
Thanks. You
As always, you can find me at creatingwithimpact.com or on Instagram at creatingwithimpactpod. You can also check out Creating with Impact on Patreon at patreon.com/creatingwithimpact, where you can become a subscriber and get all sorts of extra content and resources. 10% of all of our Patreon proceeds benefit Mental Health America, which advances the mental health and well-being of all people living in the U.S. through public education, research, advocacy and public policy, and direct service. Leave a 5-star review wherever you listen to this podcast or join our Patreon, and we'll give you a personal shout out on the show. As always, if you have any stories or successes you'd like to share, or if you'd just like to get in on the conversation, you can email creatingwithimpactpod@gmail.com.